Well, we have asked political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou to also join us and unpack today's manifesto launch for us. Doctor, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Look, in your view, was there noticeable difference in the ANC's manifesto as opposed to or compared to their previous one, or the manner in which it was tabled as those achievements as well as priorities made the difference?
Good evening to you, Alicia. Good evening to the viewers at home. Well, I think it's quite a very interesting question that you're posing. The difference between today's manifesto and the rest. And you'd agree with me that the same challenges that South Africans have been facing many years ago, from 1994 up until now, appears to be the same challenges that South Africans are facing today. Whilst the president was outlining the plan for the ANC government, if they are voted back into power, he has been touching mainly on the very same issues that appears to have been the challenges in the past. In 1994 and many other elections, political parties have been talking about job creation. Political parties have always been talking about food security. Political parties have been talking about building the economy. Political parties have been talking about health and many other issues. But at the same time, these are the very same issues that are raised by other political parties as well.
Look, Doctor, the president promised to collaborate with the private sector in creating as well as maintaining over 2.5 million jobs, as you've just alluded to, the employment issue, as well as embarking on programs to develop as well as upgrade skills with a special focus on women and the disabled. I mean, these are not new promises, but the question is, how will then these be implemented when there is still a flurry of retrenchments, businesses shutting down, and issues like load shedding basically hampering on that very much needed economic growth?
Indeed, government that does flourish and the economy does grow if indeed the private sector is actually doing very well. It is in the hands of government to ensure that the environment in South Africa is conducive for the economy to grow and indeed the private sector to be able to do its work and create jobs. At the same time, and I know why the president did not touch much on this one, at the same time, there are issues that could prevent business or the private sector to do its work properly, like the challenge of like electricity in South Africa. And my sense is that a lack of consistent supply of electricity in South Africa has a potential to negatively affect the growth of the private sector, and the very same jobs that we talk about cannot be created. So it is in the hands of the ANC and its entities like ESCOM to ensure that they deliver on their mandate, and therefore they'll start talking about ensuring that indeed the business is actually growing and jobs can therefore be created.
Doctor, look, the much contested NHI is looking like the newest shiny toy on the ruling party's possession, yet the draft framework around how this will also be handled is still a mystery. Crime is at an all-time high with no real solid plans on how they will overhaul the system as well as increase the police workforce and also equip it accordingly.
Well, indeed, those could be the positives, especially when you talk about the increment of the police and ensuring that the public service has programs to absorb people to be able to be accommodated. But when it comes to the NHI, it remains quite a very contested area because there are a number of skepticism, especially coming from the people in the health sector and other political parties. But at the same time, those who want to become the beneficiaries of the program would love to see that being implemented, because you would know that there is a serious divide between those that can afford the proper health services in South Africa and those who cannot. And depending on what you get in your income also determines the areas in which you need to visit for health services. So we just have to wait and see when the president gets his pen down, how this entire program is actually going to be rolled out.
And then the promise to take South Africa beyond the world, so to speak, Doctor, in a way of as a means of supporting peace efforts, strengthening trade and investment links, as well as reforming those international bodies. I mean, we have seen efforts like, of course, your Israel-Palestine ICJ initiative, as well as BRICS also among those. So one wonders then, what else is in the pipeline to maintain our geopolitical footprint while also remaining diplomatic? I think are some of the issues that society would like, more clarity on.
Well, I think South Africa from 1994 has been able to navigate very clearly and decisively on matters of our foreign policy and how we react to many situations happening in Africa and in the entire continent. South Africa in the previous administration that is getting out of office now has actually done tremendously well in terms of building trade relations, being an active partner in the economic bodies like your BRICS, in the political bodies like the United Nations, and taking decisive actions on matters where other countries will be skeptical of not doing so. My view is that South Africa's path towards our international relations approach continue to be on track, and I think what they need to do is to take the citizens along, but they appear to have been doing very, very well. And that is not the view only of South Africans, but it's a view that is also being accommodated by many nations out there. Also, you could still get other countries that will not be in support of South Africa's approach on other fronts, depending on whether they actually benefit or not from such interactions. But I think our bold stance and consistently briefing society about the programs that South Africa takes in the international arena is something that we actually have to be proud of.
Thank you so much for that. That is Dr. Levy Ndou, a political analyst weighing in on the recently launched ANC Manifesto.